Hi. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. I hope I will fill Al's shoes as well.
You'll do great. And I think I would have postponed it, but honestly, they were coming up right before an election next week.
No,
and
it's good
to just get this out. And we can do another one, hopefully, towards the end or beginning of the year when we're kind of.
As we get, and once we get, we don't know district lines right now. We still have a lot of primaries going on.
Yeah.
So another one in May or June would have a lot more clarity around focuses. So, Al is really good at this, and
yeah, you'll do great, and you always have so much knowledge. So I was just going to start by kind of introducing PMS. Hi, Uppy.
Hi.
I'll introduce PMS. Or Uppy, do you want to introduce PMS?
No, you can go. I think you can go for it, then it'll.
Okay.
Either way.
So I can introduce PMS a little bit, then I'll talk a little bit about the salon, what people are going to get out of it. What parts of Al's are you not going to talk about, just so I don't refer to it?
I ended up keeping everything in there. I'll probably go into less detail on the state ledge than she wanted to, but I want to make sure to talk about the layering opportunities.
Yeah.
So, she would probably have a lot more to say there. I will probably have very little to say there, but I did want to keep it in just because I think it's illustrative of her bigger point.
Great. Let's keep it on surface level, because I think that's where this group is anyway, and then we can build on it. So I think just speaking about it in a general is perfect. We don't have to go deeper. And then when we can get you guys back, that may be a better time to kind of dig, and especially when we have a little bit more clarity on stuff as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Gretchen, for being flexible with the change.
It's totally fine. I love talking about this, and I am happy to connect. I also think it's a good time to connect with people, Tejal, because if they do want to kind of connect with different groups that are gearing up for the election, now's a good time for them to get a sense of what that's going to look like, and who their people are. So
I agree. I actually just got off the phone with Senator Hassan today. So
good.
Thank you again.
I'm so glad you're able to connect with her. I'm sorry that you missed our dinner, but I'm glad.
I know she's great. And we had a nice chat today, and very much in line with kind of my philosophy. And I'd met her a few years ago, so it was just good to reconnect. And then I'm in for Whitmer.
Yay.
I emailed Presta.
Great.
Lisa Presta. So
great.
Okay. Well, we can digress.
Yeah.
Okay. So then and then do you want me to feed you any questions? Do you want me to chime in, or do you have it? I don't need to do any of that. I just wanted to.
No, I think I've got it. I'm going to go through. I'll linger a little bit longer on the two map slides, because I think people do really well with the visual, and then I'll kind of go through the rest of it more quickly, and then would just love to and then I added a slide actually that's my giving priorities. So this is what I not so that other people have to do what I'm doing, but just to be this is how I kind of narrow down what I'm looking on. You figure out what your parameters are. I don't care what they are, but have them.
So that would be a good thing. So loop me in as you're talking about this, and I can just talk about how I've gone on this journey, and would give maybe some a real life example of going through this.
Yeah.
So people don't think it's because you've been in the space for so long, you need to have all this experience. Right. So yeah, feel free to throw me anything that you want me to just speak on my own example, so the crowd can kind of just understand that you can start anywhere, and it's just important to do something.
Yes. I always say I don't really care what your strategy is. I just want you to have one.
Yes.
I don't care how much money you're giving. I just want you to give some.
Yes, exactly. Okay. Are we just then waiting for people?
Yeah. Hi, Megan. We're just waiting for people to gather.
Hey, guys.
Hi.
Hi, Sachi.
Hi.
We're just getting organized.
Okay, me too.
And Tejal, do you want me to hit the intro, or do you have it?
I'm trying to find it right now. Do you know where it was?
Freya emailed it to us yesterday.
Was it yesterday? Okay.
Or maybe over the weekend.
But it was from her, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can screen share, right? When I'm ready to go to the slides, I'll be able to do that.
Yes, you should. Do you want to try pulling it up actually, just to make sure everything's.
Sure. Does that work?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Well, somebody's crying upstairs. I'm just like,
That might be my downstairs though too. So sorry.
no, there's definitely somebody crying over here.
That was like me yesterday with the rain. I'm like, it's raining somewhere inside my house. It's not even like outside anymore.
As I said, I used to like love the rain and I would just like, like, oh, I'm going to make some tea and just enjoy the sound of the rain. I feel like homeownership has ruined rain for me because I'm like, where is the leak going to be? Where is it going to be? What window? Is it the garage? Where is the water getting into this house?
That was my last night. I came back and my entire sofa and everything was just like a huge puddle. I'm like, wah.
We're good so far, but that was us last
good.
winter.
Well, luckily I got a roofer coming in on Wednesday, so that was pretty quick.
Great.
And I'm like coming down with something too now, so I'm like, it's not COVID.
Cold season fun.
I know.
Right?
I know. I feel like every time like I cough or sneeze, people are thinking like, so I'm like feeling it.
Hey, Priya, we're just waiting for people to gather.
Hey, Abby. Hey, Tejal. I'm going to be on mute, but good to see you guys and excited to have you, Gretchen.
Yeah, nice to meet you. Your name on a screen, I guess.
Yeah, so sorry about that. We're doing
No,
bath
it's
time,
okay.
so I'm going to be multitasking a little bit.
No worries. I just can't wait till we can actually like have more of these conversations in person. This is what we have for the moment still.
Let's see. Let's give people like a couple more minutes and then we'll get started because I don't want to keep people longer than anticipated either.
Hi, Asha. We are just letting people gather and then we're going to get started in just a minute or two.
Sounds good. Thanks.
And hi, Jill. Hi, Katie.
Sorry, just getting off mute. Hi. How's everyone?
Good. Excited to dig into the content tonight.
Wow. We'll just give one more minute and we'll just get started and then people can kind of just jump in.
I agree. I was going to.
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to our October Salon. And the topic of this month's Salon is what's at stake. And we're coming up next year with the midterms. And so, all of that gets started now with the election, with the primaries and stuff, some of them next week. All right, before we get started with our incredible speaker, Gretchen, I just wanted to introduce myself and this organization. I'm Tejal Shaw. I'm located here in, actually at the moment, sunny San Francisco, which wasn't quite the case, along with Uppy, who's based in Oakland. And so we work together, Uppy doing the heavy lifting here for this month's Salon. For those who don't know, PMS was started in 2017 by two courageous female activists, Ravina Singh and Palak Sheth, in San Francisco, in order to really transform outrage into sustained action. And from this idea grew this kick-ass organization full of women who meet at the same time every month to connect, converse, organize, and most importantly, to take action. So with that, this salon is really about that. And, as many of us are so busy being multi-hyphenated in so many different directions, we want to make sure everyone can work smarter, not harder, as well as, though, there's no short of hard work around here, as well as if you are in the donor world, making your dollar go further, if you are going to do that, as well as your time, making the most of that. So, how it works for PMS is we meet at the same time every month, taking action into pivotal political campaigns to win elections. You're going to hear a little bit more about that today. Educating ourselves on timely social justice and policy issues. You're also going to hear about that today. Engaging with our community through volunteerism and supporting local organizations. We'll have some action items for that. And then forming community with like-minded badass women. What I love about this organization is how uniquely accomplished all these women are, yet extremely humble they are. And I think it's rare to see in an organization. So we're encouraging you to keep in touch with all the social media, all of it. We're everywhere, including Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can send us an email at hi@postmarchsalon to be added to our listserv and get our newsletter. We had a really great newsletter just went out last week. So make sure you sign up so you can get those. Housekeeping, mute questions in the chat. In the end, we'll take a group picture. And so I just wanted to introduce our speaker, Gretchen Sisson. Hi, Gretchen, welcome. Gretchen and I have known each other kind of through this political stuff. She's quite involved is like not even the right word. She is passionate and really knows her stuff. She's a board member of the Women's Donor Network Actions, and then she's also on the steering committee member of the Electing Women Bay Area. So her entire goal of electing more women can't resonate more to this group. So with no further ado, welcome Gretchen.
Thanks so much, Tejal, and thank you all for having me. As Tejal said, this is something that I feel really passionate about. It's something that I've gotten really deeply involved in the last few years. I'm gonna go over some pretty high level stuff. There's a little bit of weediness to it, so please feel free to jump in if you need me to slow down, if you have any specific questions that we can dig into. I really want to be able to be a resource for all of you guys, because I just feel strongly about helping make sure that all of our donor dollars are going as far as possible to get the people in office that we need to have in office. And so please feel free to put questions in the chat or just unmute yourself if you have a question or whatever works. I want this to be able to be a conversation. And I also want to say I was supposed to be joined this evening by Alexandra Acker-Lyons, who's a professional donor advisor and our political director at Electing Women Bay Area. She unfortunately got her booster shot and has been a little bit down for the count. The slides that I'm going to share are her slides. And so I just want to make sure I'm giving her credit where credit is due, because she's a tremendous resource, and I've learned a lot from her. So a lot of what you'll see on screen is what she kind of pulled together.
And Gretchen, I'll mind the chat, so I'll jump in with any questions. Great. So I'll check in with you so you can present. And then I want to say same, Gretchen, Al is an incredible person and resource for this. And so we will have her back, and Gretchen too. So when we get a little bit closer, either later this year and early next, as a follow-up to this.
Great.
And Gretchen, if you don't mind, if I can just chime in, I know that for so many of us, we went whole hog trying to prevent Trump from getting elected again. took a breath this year, and now it's time to like re-engage, re-energize. And we're so excited to have Gretchen here to help us figure out how to do just that and where to focus. So thank you. Very
Yeah, no, I'm happy to do that. And I'm really glad to hear that you guys are kind of have caught your breath and are ready to jump back in. I think a lot of people, and myself included, you know, we lived through 4 years of just like constant anxiety and worry and like fighting for like every little inch of protection. And so many people are just like want to be checked out, are still kind of checked out, are like, well, why, you know, didn't we win? And we did win. We won the White House, we won the Senate, we won the House. We have all 3 right now. But it could not be more narrow in every victory. And we're really going to have our work cut out for us in these midterms. And I'm really glad that people are kind of circling back and gearing up for the next year, because we're going to need it. So just real quick, I'm going to go through the House, the Senate, and then some other pickup opportunities. The focus of this presentation is really entirely on federal politics, you know, with some conversation about added opportunities at the state level. There's just too much to talk about if we want to include states, so I'll definitely be focusing on federal races. So this is the 2020 Senate map. The gray states don't have a race this cycle. The blue states are dark blue, and we don't expect that to be a potential flip for either party. And then we have protecting to do. You'll see in the light blue states in Nevada with Senator Catherine Cortez Masto, Arizona with Mark Kelly, who just won. He'll be elected to his first full term now. And then in Georgia, Senator Warnock is up again to be elected to his first full term. Right now, all of those are leaning blue. Those 3 incumbents should be safe, but we don't have a lot of clarity around who their challengers are going to be. There are big Republican primaries right now, so we don't really know what's going to happen there. They should be okay, but we can't take any of those 3 for granted. The other light blue state on here, of course, is New Hampshire. Right now, that's Senator Maggie Hassan's seat. The governor of New Hampshire right now, Chris Sununu, is widely expected to get into that race, in which case it will be a true toss-up, if not light pink. He would be a very formidable opponent for Maggie. She could definitely pull it out, but he's the governor. He's been elected several times as governor. He's pretty popular in that state. So if he runs, and he, again, is expected to, she would be clearly the most vulnerable incumbent. And then the 3 like brownish states on here, these are the ones that Republicans currently hold that we are hoping to win. So in Wisconsin, Ron Johnson is pretty vulnerable. There's competitive primary for the Democratic nomination to challenge him. Still a chance actually that Johnson will retire, and that will be an open seat, which would actually, you know, make it more likely to flip. So we're watching that race carefully. Same in Pennsylvania. That is truly an open seat. So Pat Toomey, who's the incumbent there, has retired or resigned or is not running. So that is probably our most likely Democratic pickup. Again, a really competitive primary there. And then same in North Carolina, there's an open seat. We have a little more sense of who our nominee is going to be there. It's probably going to be a woman named Sherry Beasley, who's the former Chief Justice for the North Carolina Supreme Court. Those are by far the top 3 flippable seats. Assuming Sununu runs, I would put New Hampshire in that cluster of 4 priority states. And then you'll have your light pink in Florida and Ohio. And some people are feeling optimistic about Missouri. But I am less so. We know our nominee in Florida is going to be Val Demings. She is an extremely hard campaigner. She's going to hustle. She has amazing fundraiser numbers. She's probably the best statewide candidate to challenge Marco Rubio, but it's challenging a semi-popular incumbent is still just a really hard race. The Ohio seat is open. Tim Ryan is probably the Democratic frontrunner there. But you know, Ohio is just hard to win. Ohio and Florida, you know, if Democrats are kind of bringing North Carolina and Georgia more into the blue column, Florida and Ohio are right now looking more and more red. That can turn around. really at any point, but it's going to take a lot of ground game, especially in a state as big as Florida, to do that. And I don't feel particularly bullish on either of those races, Florida more so than Ohio. But again, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and North Carolina are really the top flips. This is basically what I just said. So Kelly, Warnock, Cortez Masto, and Hassan are the incumbents that we're looking out for. And then these are our flips and toss-ups. I will say that if you don't have a vested interest for one reason or another in who the nominee is in Pennsylvania or Wisconsin, you might just want to sit out for a little while. These are truly competitive primaries. In Pennsylvania, I am supporting Valar Kush for a number of reasons, but John Fetterman, the lieutenant governor, is polling really well. Connor Lamb is bringing in a good amount of money for his first quarter. Malcolm Miata is getting a disproportionate share of endorsements, given how much money he's raised. So that's really a pretty open seat. And in Wisconsin, Mandela Barnes seems to be at the head of the pack. I'm supporting Sarah Godlewski. But if you're not like, yes, this is my candidate, I want to work to get them out of the primary, you might just want to wait. Pennsylvania's primary, I think, is in May or June. I don't know if they've finalized the date yet with the redistricting. Wisconsin's won't be until August, which is late and a bit worrisome for other reasons. If you're like, I want to give to a Senate race right now, I would go with Sherry Beasley in North Carolina. Seems she has a race, but she's definitely the clear front runner of those three most livable states. She's the one that seems most likely to get the nomination.
She's incredible.
Yes, she's great. She's a great statewide candidate. She's probably our best chance to send a Black woman to the United States Senate this cycle. We do not have any Black women in the United States Senate right now. So a lot of us are really excited about Sherry's campaign. And she's won statewide before in North Carolina with her judicial races. So governors. So we have even more work to do on the governor's side. Again, dark blue, only dark blue on here is California, but like New York, I would make dark blue. Illinois is going to be dark blue. Like these states are unlikely to flip. The Virginia race is actually, it says 2022, but the Virginia gubernatorial race is actually in 2 weeks. So we'll know that one sooner rather than later, and that'll be a good bellwether for where we're looking. In Nevada, Sisolak should be fine. In New Mexico, Michelle Lujan Grisham should be fine. Beto is going to try and turn Texas into a race and we'll see if as that race gets closer, as they get more campaigning going on, if he can turn Texas into a winnable race. But really our focus is going to be on Arizona. Katie Hobbs, the current Secretary of State, is mounting a challenge there. She is obviously Secretary of State, runs statewide. In Kansas, we have a Democratic governor, Laura Kelly. She is very vulnerable because she's a Democrat in Kansas. Wisconsin is going to be a fight. Pennsylvania has an open gubernatorial seat because of term limits. The attorney general there is running. That is going to be a fight. So what's important to notice, of course, is that Wisconsin and Pennsylvania were on the last map too. So if you're looking for really good opportunities, Pennsylvania and Wisconsin, you have the opportunity to pick up a gubernatorial seat and a Senate seat in both of those this cycle. And then we have Georgia. Georgia is a toss-up, really only if Stacey Abrams is running. Otherwise, I would probably make that one a pink, at least light pink. We do expect Stacey to run. She is not in a rush to announce. She has a good amount of money in the bank. She will raise the rest of the money that she needs very, very quickly because of her network, and she's such a powerhouse. And by sort of staying out of it longer, she can focus on her book tour. She can, do some other things until she's ready to hit the ground running. And she's not galvanizing opposition support either by being in there. But we do expect Stacey to run, in which case that would be both a competitive gubernatorial race and a Senate defense with Senator Warnock.
I would want to jump in, Gretchen, for you to clarify, money in the bank is like a really big deal of we're talking about stretching those donor dollars. And obviously everyone loves Stacey and would want to give money, but we saw this last cycle where people had too much money and nothing, and they still didn't win. Not that she would be in that category, but talk about then where those dollars go further, and is this where we focus on those other states?
Yeah. So, I'll go back to this map. Stacey Abrams is again a powerhouse. She's a fundraising powerhouse. She's a household name among Democratic households all across the country. She's going to have a ton of money. If you are looking to move a lot of dollars, you can send her some of that. Laura Kelly in Kansas, not the same situation. She's a Democratic governor. She's one of only 6 Democratic women governors that we have in the country right now. She's great. She won by the narrowest of margins. Your money goes pretty far in Kansas. It's a pretty cheap media market. You know, think about that, right? Like everybody loves Stacey. Stacey's going to have just boatloads of money. She'll spend it well. Some campaigns are smarter about spending money than others. Stacey knows exactly where the money in Georgia needs to go. She'll get it there. So I don't want you to think that you'd be wasting money sending it to Stacey. She'll use every dollar, but she will just, I mean, she's going to be fully funded. Laura Kelly, I don't know if she's going to be fully funded. Like I would send money to Kansas too. Same with Katie Hobbs in Arizona. That's going to be a more expensive race. But if you want to pick up a gubernatorial seat, then that's good. Now, there's a lot of other reasons to invest in Stacey also. So I'm not trying to discourage you from that. I'm just saying, like, think about other places that your money is going to go even further. So if you only have $500 to spend on governor's races for, you know, whatever reason, I might send it to Kansas instead of send it to Georgia, because that will be a big significant boost for Laura Kelly, and it'll be a drop in the bucket in Georgia, to be frank. So
we had a comment about let me see.
Yeah.
Can you touch on Missouri really quick, if possible? Someone is Katie
Yes.
is registered in Missouri
for the Senate seat. Yeah. So that is, you know, Lucas Kunz is he is running there. He seems to be a really good statewide candidate for Missouri. You know, I don't have it doesn't seem likely. We felt really optimistic about Nicole Galloway's governor's race in Missouri last cycle. The polling seemed like it was really close. She actually had pretty decent fundraising for a candidate in Missouri. And then she just got trounced. And that's kind of making me feel a little bit less optimistic about Missouri, but we'll have to see. I mean, you know, you can never ignore completely an open Senate seat. I just don't know that I feel super optimistic about it. That could change, right? We get some polling numbers next spring that make me think that it's a really close race. Like I'm going to be looking at that really carefully. I'm not crossing Missouri off the list. I just haven't seen like a huge amount of reason to feel really hopeful about that. Same with like Iowa. Like Abby Finkenauer is running for the Senate in Iowa. I think she's an outstanding candidate. She won her congressional district in 2018. She lost it by like the narrowest of margins in 2020. Chuck Grassley is 1,000,000 years old and is apparently running for another term. He's 87 and he'll be 88 if he gets elected next year. Like this is insane. You know, Abby is, you know, he has been in Senate Abby's entire life. Abby is 30 something. And, you know, she's a great candidate. But I am not seeing polling that indicates that is as close as she would need it to be to unseat him. So keeping an eye on Ohio, on Missouri, on Iowa. But I need some indication that they are actually close before I will like encourage folks to put their money there. I'm putting money behind Abby in Iowa because I like Abby. And I found most women that are running for Senate. But if you're really looking to target your money to places that are likely to flip, then that wouldn't be the top of my list, unfortunately. Redistricting. And this is what I was saying to Tejal and Api earlier, is that we just there's a lot of question marks still. We have these open competitive primaries on both sides. We don't know who the challengers are for our incumbents. We don't quite know what's going to happen on the other, who our nominees are going to be for some of these big races. We don't have congressional districts yet in a lot of seats. So this map shows you basically how redistricting is handled in each state. So 27 states, the state legislature will decide. 3, there's the political commission. They're supposed to be bipartisan. They're usually bipartisan. And 10, they're independent commissions that are not political appointees. And in 3, there's an advisory commission. There's actually like more nuance to this than you can put on a single map, because some have gubernatorial vetoes, some don't. we're still waiting on districts. We don't quite know what they're going to look like. And we have a sense of which of our, House candidates are always going to be vulnerable, but that could change. Some of them could get a couple of points safer. Some of them could get a couple of points more vulnerable. We just have to see. There are probably going to be pickup opportunities in places that we wouldn't expect, like, the eastern shore of Maryland or in Montana's new congressional district. Like if those are drawn a certain way, they could become more competitive, and those are chances to pick up House seats. And we should be very aware of them because we are going to have to fight tooth and nail to hold on to a House majority. So we're watching this carefully, but we just don't quite know yet in most states what that's going to be. So good to have another conversation in a couple more months when we know who the primary, we have a sense of who the nominees are. We have a sense of what the districts are, but for now, there's a good amount of ambiguity around here.
Do we know when this information will be available? Is it before the end of the year?
It's a mess, Tejal. It really is, because the census was delayed, so the districts are delayed and everything, and now they're going back and forth. We have got to know by the end of the calendar year. We're supposed to know Illinois' districts by the end of the month. They're already on their second map, and the second map is better for Democrats than the first map. So I think we're moving in the right direction. But some of these will go to the state Supreme Courts. Some of them will get a gubernatorial veto, and they'll go back to the drawing board, and then it'll get turned I wish we knew. It's too late already. Like, our candidates need to know who their voters are, and we don't know in some of these places. But this is what a redistricting year is like, but it's compounded now by a late census and a pandemic. It's not great. Sorry,
Hope that answered your question. It's okay.
Yeah, my children are just absolutely screaming in the next room, so I hope I'm the only one who can hear them, and I apologize if you have to.
We've all been there.
Yes. So we have a really narrow majority right now. We technically have an 8-seat majority. There are 3 vacancies, at least 2 of which will be filled with blue House members before the end of term. It is an extremely narrow margin. The president almost always loses House seats and their midterms, but this is a weird year. I'm really sorry about the screaming. Can you all hear it? Yes, you can. It's very loud. I'm sorry. I'm worried about the House. I think that we're like I said, we're really going to have to fight tooth and nail for every victory there. And we're going to have to watch the new districts closely. There's, it's a weird year given the pandemic, given Biden's currently not great approval rating, but hopefully that will turn around when we get more of these bills passed. It's hard to know a year out where we are on some of these things and how optimistic we should feel. I do think there's a chance we can hold the House, not with the current presidential approval rating. But if we get the infrastructure bill passed, if we get Build Back Better passed, if we get the Freedom to Vote Act passed, if his approval picks up, if we get more vaccines out there and we feel really conclusively like we have put most of this pandemic behind us, then yeah, I would feel more optimistic. I don't think it's an impossibility, but we have to work very hard, and a lot of things are going to have to go our way. State legislatures, Al loves to include this. I didn't want to take it out because I think it highlights sort of this layering of opportunities in places that you might want to target. So like the Arizona State House and Senate are both within reach. The Michigan House and Senate are both within reach. That would be a total game changer if Governor Gretchen Whitmer could govern with a flipped legislature. The Nevada State House and Senate, we have the House, we would have to keep it, and we could flip the Senate. New Mexico is important. The New Mexico House is important for a number of reasons. Like, we really, really, really want New Mexico to be an abortion haven because it's right there next to Texas. And when Texas women have to travel, New Mexico actually has very good abortion laws. We really want them to keep them right now. So like you get into the weeds a lot on why these different state houses are important or not. Pennsylvania, I'm a native Pennsylvanian. So, I'm always looking at the Pennsylvania State House and Senate there. We've also got that Senate race. We've got the gubernatorial race. So like a lot of opportunities in one state to look at organizing. A longer shot of flipping the Georgia State House, that would have to be a really good year for us. Same with the Texas State House. North Carolina is a little more doable. Iowa is a little bit further, but you know, this is just to give you a sense of kind of like what state legislatures we could be focusing on, and whatever state senates we are electing next year will be the state legislatures that are overseeing the elections and the presidential elections in 24 and certifying the results of the 2024 presidential election. So we've seen what happened in Arizona. We've seen what happened when President Trump is challenging all these. We get good state legislatures, that's just nipped in the bud. So another reason to be looking at Arizona and Pennsylvania and Nevada on this list.
And I'll just chime in with New Hampshire, with the Senate seat there, with the governor running, he did put an anti-abortion law on there. So that House and Senate is critically important. Yes. So it just kind of shows you how it all does layer, to Gretchen's point.
And these are,
Gretchen.
Oh, sorry.
I was wondering, what do you think Republicans do differently with how they attack state races that Democrats aren't doing that we could learn from?
Mm-hmm.
Do you have an opinion on that?
Yeah, they gerrymander their states.
Oh, that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if there were fair districts in Texas, then we should have the Texas State House already. But I don't know what their we don't even know what their congressional districts are going to look like. They're probably actually going to be better for us in some ways and more challenging in others. But like I have no idea what their House districts look like. They are definitely gerrymandered. I mean, they've just spent money. I mean, like you know, I feel like Democrats have in the last 4 years really woken up to the importance of state legislatures. And, you know, we have sister district really focusing on a lot of these races that are really important and kind of doing the math on them and getting people the funding. Republicans have been doing that for 15 years. They just have a head start on us. They've been robustly funding these for a really long time. There's a concern. I mean, I think we're going to turn it around in time, but like, you know, you get a certain number of state legislatures to agree, you can call a constitutional convention and propose constitutional amendments, and they're like 3 away. They're very close. Those last 3 will be really hard. Like they're not going to flip New York. They're not going to flip California, right? Like their path there is getting pretty narrow, but like, who knows what happens midterm year. Like I'm glad that we are starting to pay more attention to this. It is much needed. It is late, but I don't think it's too late. We just need to be aware of that. General advice for donors. These are all Al's advice except for this first one, which is what I added, and it's to find your network. So that could be this group. For me, one of my really important networks is Electing Women Bay Area. It is, if anyone is interested, you know, I have my email address at the end. Please email me. It is a great group of women donors supporting women candidates, mostly for state and gubernatorial races, occasionally for some congressional races, specifically here in California. Al is our political director. So if like members get like the full benefit of her political advice, it's great. You get to really know these candidates really well. Like, you know, Stacey Abrams, when she was running in 2018, we were one of her first stops, right? Because she knows we're going to fund her. So we get to have lunch with Stacey Abrams and 20 of our members, relatively small, intimate conversation with these folks to get them early money in the door. It's very low key. It's a really great group of people. I am doing a little bit of a pitch for EWBA just because I love it so much, but whatever your group is, whatever fits what you want to accomplish, I just think finding your people makes a huge difference. It makes it easier to fundraise. It makes you more passionate about it. City District is another great example. If you're like, yes, I want to focus on state legislatures, those are your people, right? There's if you're issues based, there's a couple other, there's different groups for people who really want to focus on climate. And I just really recommend finding who your people are, who are your like-minded fundraisers, donors, volunteers, that you can really get in this work with, because it's more fun and it's more effective to do it that way. And then on to Al's advice. Giving to candidates gives them the most flexibility and the cheapest ad buys. So I think that giving to independent expenditures and 501c4 organizations, advocacy organizations, makes a lot of sense in some states. So if you're I'm looking at Georgia, there's going to be a Senate race, there's going to be a gubernatorial race, we're maybe going to go for that long shot play for the Georgia State House. I'm just going to give to New Georgia Project or Fair Fight, get that money in. They're going to be working on all of this across the board. Now, those two organizations I just named are excellent organizations. They're going to spend it well. But if you give money to Stacey's campaign or Warnock's campaign, they can spend it on basically anything the campaign needs. And they get better ad buy prices than nonprofit organizations or PACs. So Al always recommends giving to candidates first, or at least additionally, along with any other kind of nonprofit donations that you're doing to impact their race. Use different kinds of money appropriately. So you have candidate party donations, those are disclosed. So you can go on Open Secrets and you can see every political donation I've made in the last 5 years. You can also see where I work and I think my address if you go to my full profile. So like that's a certain amount of exposure that some people are not comfortable with. Nobody looks at that information except for other campaigns when they want to call and ask you for money. But it is out there. So for some people, that's a concern. 501c4 donations are usually not disclosed. That's up to the organization, but most of them do not. 501c3 donations are not disclosed and are tax deductible. 501c4 donations are not. So 501c4 organizations are those advocacy organizations that I'm talking about. And 501c3s are nonprofit organizations that do nonpartisan work. That can still be really helpful. So if you're giving to a group that's just doing voter registration, right? Like that's really helpful in some of these places. That's infrastructure that they need. That is C3 work because it's nonpartisan. Plot your personal budget accordingly, depending on like what you want to put into all of these, each or any of these three pots. And think of 501c3 as one bucket because it's tax deductible and everything else is another. And then sort of like parse your C4 and your PAC money and your candidate money, however makes sense for you. Go deep, not wide. So figure out what your priorities are and zero in on those. That's really where you're going to have the most impact because your money that you give to the Pennsylvania Senate candidate is really also going to help in the gubernatorial race because they're going after those same voters, right? Money that you give to an independent expenditure, grassroots organizing progressive group in, central Pennsylvania, that's also going to help both of those campaigns. So your dollars are going to compound each other in those ways. So figure out what your priorities are. You're going to focus on the swing Senate states or states that have like governor, Senate, state leg, or you're going to focus on protecting our incumbents, or you're going to go really deep on just one specific state rather than sort of giving out donations all over. So as Val always says, $1,000 in one place is doing a lot more work than $100 in 10 places. Have a plan. This is really good. So I only support women and I love that she included this one because that is really what I say. And I do make exceptions, but when men call me, I'm just only supporting women in this cycle. And if I feel moved to support them, I still can. Like it doesn't, you don't have, these aren't rigid rules, but have a sense of what your priorities are and what you want to focus on. Or I'm focused on flipping the Senate. Like I'm not funding House races this cycle. You can always make an exception if you're really excited about a certain House race. You don't need to tell them that, but have guidelines for where you want to zero in, and who's going to get your yes, and who's going to be someone else. They have to find there's a donor out there that's going to have a different priority than you. They're going to get funded. You just have to figure out what's most exciting to you. Give now.
I will chime in on this one because I drank through the fire hose in the last 5 years and I went way over budget.
It's so much.
And so it is really helpful to have like a specific thing. And I know like I struggle with intersectionality a lot because like I have like, I want to do women and then I want women of color and like, like all of that kind of stuff. So I've narrowed my focus on, but someone will always get me. And if I've talked to every donor, they always go outside their box. They always color
Everybody does. Everybody does.
It's totally part of it and it's totally good, but it does help you kind of stay focused. And it's easier to say no because if you start getting a lot of phone calls, you're gonna have to learn to say no. Otherwise, it gets out of control.
And it's also helpful to say yes, right? It gets you to the yes faster when you know what your priorities are for certain people. Like, Senator Hassan calls me and I'm like, look, I haven't had a chance to really look at this. I mean, I have looked at her race, but like, if someone calls me and I'm like, well, I haven't had a chance to look at this race and I don't really know quite what's happening, but like, yes, you're in my priority category. So it's like, yes, I will fund you send me your perspective, give me more detail. I want to have a conversation. Like, let's figure out what amounts. Then if like they want me to host them, like that's a bigger ask. So like then the conversation is like, yes, but let's figure out how big of a yes, or how long of a yes, or you know what's happening with that yes. But that's also a better use of the candidate's time too, if you know what your priorities are, so you can get to that starting point faster. Give now. I think Al wrote. I think these are her. Oh my gosh, my children. There's so many of them. I apologize. My poor husband is just really having a fun time with a 2-year-old who didn't nap. Give now. So this, I think these are some slides from last cycle too. I mean, giving now is always better than giving later, but you also don't need to necessarily give right now a full year out. You should definitely spend at least 80% of your political budget before next Labor Day. I would say I aim to spend all of the money that I'm planning to spend before Labor Day of an election year. Then there's always like, if there's emerging needs or something comes up or something looks closer as we get closer, like then you can kind of pull a little bit more out. But that's because that around Labor Day is when the campaigns are making their last ad buys that will carry them through Election Day. And it's also when they're pressed up against that quarter reporting deadline at the end of September. So getting them that money, like that should kind of be what your deadline is in your mind. And if you're waiting for clarity around these primaries, around these districts, like that's going to mean that you have a very busy spring and summer of figuring out where you're going to be spending your money. Which is also why, if you know what your priorities are and there's already people that are yes, or candidates that are yes, or races that you want to focus on, then that's easy. You can get that out now. So how to find the best organizations. Part of this is your network. Like I said on the last slide, word of mouth, other donors, ask experts about who they like. Please, like, again, and like, please count me in this category for you. I am always happy to talk about organizations. Al is too. She's, for someone who gets paid to give their advice, she's also just very generous with her advice because she truly just wants us to win. And so she's a tremendous resource. A track record, be wary of new organizations that seem duplicative. This isn't a special one in the Bay Area because everyone is an entrepreneur. And after 2016, everyone was starting a new organization. And, now a lot of those organizations have merged with other ones that were already doing this work before. So you want to not be drawn into like new flashy things that are like, we're responding exactly to this political moment. And I don't want to say that like every organization that has been here or every PAC who's been doing this for 20 years is doing everything exactly right, because we would be winning more if they were. There is certainly room for innovation. There's certainly room for new players, but politics is about relationships and fundraising is about relationships. And if you're brand new, you're building those from scratch, and it's going to make you a little bit less effective until they can be on the ground a little bit more. Another great way is to give to the C4 arm of C3 organizations that you already give to. I work in the reproductive health space. So like you'd be astonished like how many people give to like the Planned Parenthood Federation of America, which is the 501c3, without giving to the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, right? Like that's still Planned Parenthood doing C4 work, doing advocacy work, and then they have Planned Parenthood Votes, which is their PAC. I'm not saying everybody go out and give to Planned Parenthood. I actually think there are other organizations in the political space that are doing work in other very important ways. But if you have an organization that you are really passionate about, see if they have a C4. They probably do. It probably has a much smaller budget. And if you don't care about tax deductibility, then go for it or split your donation. Big is not always bad. National organizations with state affiliates work closely with groups on the ground. They often re-grant to smaller orgs as well. This is great if you're like, look, I want to make a difference in North Carolina. I want to set Sherry Beasley up for success. I've already given her campaign. I don't know anything else about North Carolina. You can find these sort of umbrella organizations or national organizations and like, I'm going to give you this money earmarked for North Carolina, and they're going to go find who needs, they're not going to have to go find them. They're going to know who the organizations are that need the money there. This is also true for state donor tables. This is particularly true if you're moving pretty big amounts of money. And that's great. So like I will support the Pennsylvania donor table because they're going to know not just who's doing good work, but who needs money at any point in a campaign, particularly at the end of the campaign. They're going to know where their remaining gaps are. And then combine your time and treasure. So this is both if you want to spend your money and your time, you want to get involved. So adopt a state, pick one, give to the candidates, give to in-state organizations. You can go there and knock on doors. I think we're probably gonna be able to travel and knock on doors next summer. I mean, we're gonna have to if we want to win these races. Swing Left has great volunteer tools. Blueprint is their donor guide. They really layer both time and money contributions. Sister District is also great for this if you want to focus on state legislatures. And then I added Climate Change Makers, which is specifically about volunteering and giving for climate champion candidates. They are a new organization, San Francisco based. Their founder is a friend of mine who's doing some really, really great innovative work around leveraging climate. Tejal knows her as well. So she's a great resource for climate folks. Yeah. And then I just thought it'd be helpful for like what does all this look like in my own giving? So as I said, I give to women. There are not that many.
Sorry,
women
Gretchen, really
yeah.
quick. So Eliza's a friend. She's talking about
Yeah.
the climate. And so this is so cool. Eliza just branded herself climate a few years ago, but she was so passionate. Now she's like leading this. So it's
Yeah.
never too late to like really put your passion. And she's a mom of 2 kids. Like, you know, just like there's so much commonality amongst all of us in what her profile is. But again, it's only been a few years and she's really made a name for herself in like champion the climate candidates, the policy work, everything on that. So you know, it's just, you just need to start somewhere, and she's done an exceptional job.
Yeah, she's great. And she's so smart. And I mean, you should maybe have Eliza on another call because she's really great. But you know, where are my yeses? Just to give an example, and I always say, like, I don't really care what your strategy is. I want you to have one. Like you would be, well, maybe you wouldn't be, but there are so many donors who just don't have cohesive strategies that I see. And I don't think they're spending their money effectively. They're not giving to candidates who can win. And I don't think giving to candidates who can win is like the only objective. Some of the best advice I was given as a donor was, if you give to 10 candidates and they all win, you might feel really good about yourself, but you might have done nothing. Right. And I don't think that I fully got that. Like I could go make a list of 10 candidates that are going to win. If you want to send your money to those and feel like you have 100% giving record, then great. I want some of my candidates to lose. If I'm not taking a risk on candidates that may or may not lose, I'm not sending my money to the right place. So, you know, you just need to figure out what your metric is. I give to basically every woman who's running for the United States Senate. There are not that many women, Democratic women, running for the United States Senate. There are not that many of them. I will not ever give to Kirsten Sinema again because we do have some standards, but you know, they're especially anyone's who are vulnerable. You're basically just talking Maggie and Catherine this cycle. And you know, does Patty Murray need my money to win? No, she doesn't. I sent her some because she asked for it and it's fine. You know, does Mazie Hirono need, like, no, she doesn't. But like, they still need to mount campaigns, right? They still need to they still need posters. They still need a campaign staff. They still need to house their, you know, to do their campaign town halls. Those things all cost money. And like, I can be the easy yes for them. Like I can be the, you know, I don't want them to have to waste a lot of time fundraising. So I'm the easy yes. They don't need a huge amount of money. They get it in the door. They go on with the business of being a senator. I can say yes to those people. So again, there are not a lot of women running in these priority states. So that's enough of a narrowing for me. And I'm also giving the cycle to House members with whom I have relationships. I mean, you can probably tell I'm not feeling super bullish on flipping a lot of House districts this cycle. I think I am largely in the business of protecting incumbents and incumbents with whom I have built a relationship over the last 2 cycles of donating to. So people that I really feel are offering the party something important by being in their district. And these are usually the frontline members who are vulnerable. I also give to statewide candidates. This is part of my interest in getting more women in the United States Senate, which is really part of my interest in figuring out where our woman presidential candidate is going to come from. It's probably the Senate or a governor's race. And if I want more women running as senators and governors, then I need more women as comptrollers and attorneys general and secretaries of state, because those are where those candidates come from. So I started paying attention to a lot of these statewide pipeline races. This is probably, like, unless you are spending a huge amount of money or you're really, really into this, like I am, like, this is a little bit farther removed because it's a longer term strategy. But you know, I got a thank you card in the mail. My husband's like, I'm sorry, did you give money to a woman running for comptroller in Maryland? And I was like, Yes, I did, because there are no women in the Maryland congressional delegation. There are no women representing Maryland in the Senate. Maryland has never had a woman as governor. This woman is really talented. She's been successful in the House of Delegates. Like, we need women on the board in Maryland. It's safe blue. It's safe blue in their delegation, and we don't have any women there. So like, those are the people that I'm going to find. I am from, the next sort of category for me is I'm from Pennsylvania. We have a Senate race, we have a governor race, we have a state legislature race. I'm looking at all of those. I will probably fund their donor table this cycle. That is, that's important to me. That's my home state. My home county is an important county. That's where I want to do work. That's where I'm going to do a really deep dive this cycle. And then my pipeline candidates, which are also my statewide candidates. And I'm just, because this is where my NT Joel knows, I like obsessed with this right now. This is from my my newsletter that I just sent out. So I made a list of all the United States senators that are going to be over 75 at the end of their current term. So you can see the senator in the state and their current age and when their term is up, how old they will be. And then these are all the women that I want to replace them with. And so this is how you get to an easy yes, right? And like, there's a lot of names on here, like there's more than there are spots, but this is how I get to a yes, because like Dana Nessel, who's the attorney general in Michigan, is like, I'm going to be in town. Do you want to have a meeting? And it's an easy yes, because she's on my list here, right? Like, she's winning statewide in Michigan in an important state and an important seat. And it kind of gives you a sense of like, where you want to play and what you want your dollars to be doing longer term. So we're definitely talking about this cycle, obviously, but if you want to start thinking about longer term, how to build power, like this is where I'm doing more of my thinking these days. So this is just, I don't want to be bogging people down. I'm just sort of sharing, like, there's a lot of ways that you can do this that will change over time. And you should feel good getting excited about whatever you get excited about. Here's my email. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me and use it. And then this is my Substack link. It's just my first name, substack.com. And I just do a once a month newsletter of my current thinking about political giving and all their races, and then all my events for the upcoming month. So next month we have Catherine Clark, who's the Assistant Speaker of the House. We have Katie Porter, who's fantastic. We have Gretchen Whitmer, and a couple other organizational events. So if you ever want to connect on any of those, you can go there, you can subscribe. I don't spam you, I promise. And just more of my thoughts on my own giving and opportunities that I'm seeing. I'm very heavily informed by Al and her brilliance as well. So that's me.
Oh, thank you, Gretchen. That was amazing. And it's so nice to have folks like you and Al that really, have such good strategy and can talk about it and articulate it for the rest of us. Cause I know it's been, like you said, the last 4 years, it was just like fire after fire. So to now kind of come into more of a proactive mindset, I think would be helpful to everyone. So I guess we'll open up to some questions. I know some people had to run off with like nighttime routines. So does anyone have a question? And I will say, as Gretchen has adopted Pennsylvania, like for me, it's Michigan and central New York. So that's kind of where I focus my stuff on. There is overlap with Gretchen, and that's how we do coordinate our efforts a lot. And that list is amazing because a lot of my people are on her list too. So it's always nice to cross populate everyone together.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
What kinds of things are you reading about some of those longer term candidates, right? Like, where are you getting your information? Are you reading local newspapers? Like, where are you keeping tabs on what they're doing?
Well, this is a new list I made 2 weeks ago. So I'm still navigating part of that. Right. And, I will say that, part of it is outreach, and part of it is just they're going to come to San Francisco. Every Democratic candidate comes to San Francisco. It is the ATM. And so, I made that list, and literally the next day I got an email from Dana Nessel's campaign, and I was like, yeah, I would love to get dinner, right? Like, let's have that conversation. Let me hear about your first race. Let me hear about what your reelect looks like. Let me hear about what issues you're passionate about, what you want your career to be, what you think Michigan needs right now. And these races are not I mean, like a lot of people pay, and we need to pay a lot of attention to the Senate. I'm not saying we shouldn't pay a lot of attention to the Senate, but like your money goes really far in an AG race. It goes really far in a Secretary of State race. And like the attorneys general are why we still have the ACA. The attorneys general are why, and the secretaries of state are why this presidential election was upheld, right? Like these are absolutely essential states, especially if we don't expect to have the governor. If we can have an attorney general and a secretary of state that are Democratic, even if we have a Republican governor, we have really mitigated that impact, particularly around elections, right? So that's not really an answer to your question though. How am I sort of keeping, I mean, like I have these names. So when they are coming to town and I do hear about it, then I will reach out to them, or I'll try to schedule a call with their campaign. You know, and like, it's not hard to, I mean, I don't want to diminish the really important work that they're doing, but like, it's not hard to get a phone call with like a lieutenant governor who's like out of cycle, right? Like they have some time, to make time on their schedule to have a conversation with you. And you know, I think that this is particularly important right now because the primaries in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are showing us that when you have an open seat or when you have a vulnerable incumbent, you're going to get like 4 or 5 way primaries. And I just want to know early on, like who my candidate is going to be. And I want her, because it's always a her, to be supported. And I want to be ready to like bring her out here and host her and have her meet folks early on, and to feel really strong about that. And it also means doing silly things like giving to a really safe congressional candidate who I want to have a war chest built up for because I want her to run for Senate in 4 years, right? It's those sorts of things. It's like deepening relationships with some members who might otherwise be safe, or safer, because you're investing not just in this race, but in their overall future as a candidate, and things like fundraising can have a big impact there.
And I will chime in, just like in every other facet of the professional world, women don't get funded as quickly and with enough money. So this stands true in political fundraising as well. So Gretchen makes a huge point of doing it early, deepening those relationships and getting it to them sooner, because they're always just grasping at straws.
And the reason why we don't have more women in the Senate is not because they don't run, it's because they don't always get out of primaries. Like that's the sort of thing, is that I need, like, we've, you know, our women in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania are not the clear front runners. I think they're both excellent candidates. I think they both have paths to victory, but it's, you know, it's going to be a fight for them both. And if we can make more women sort of the heirs apparent in some of these places where we know that seat's going to open up, then that's our path. And it's not just, I mean, you know, right now we have no Black women in the Senate. Sherry could win. I think that would be really meaningful, but like there's, I think 5 Black women on that list that I just showed who could have a very reasonable chance of being in the Senate soon. And it's just a question of what they need to clear that field early on. Because these are all Democratic incumbents. These are fairly safe blue seats. Like, I don't know who Connecticut is going to nominate, but whoever the Democratic Party nominates is going to be the senator, right? So it's like the primary is the race.
And a lot of them are starting leadership councils. So then you can get some more face time with them too, the earlier you do donate and stuff. And it's not always just about donating. It's also time and volunteering as well. They do really appreciate all of those efforts too. Again, being in California, you know, like geography sometimes limits that. So I just want to put that out. But like, obviously with all the postcards and all the adopt estates and all of that, like that stuff's really, really helpful too. Any other questions, guys? I'll let Uppy chime in. Or
I have a question actually. You mentioned some of the things that need to move for you to feel optimistic about the House race. Is there anything that can be done? Like, should we be calling our Congress people? Should we be donating anywhere to get things like the infrastructure bill, voting rights, all of those big bills that need to pass? Any action we can take there?
I don't think so. I don't think so. To be honest, the leaders that we all worked really, really hard to send to Washington last cycle just need to get the job done. I think voting rights is going to have to wait until after the infrastructure and after Build Back Better, which is deeply aggravating because we need that law in place for redistricting because it will prevent gerrymandering. And so we might lose that opportunity. That is a hard pill to swallow. Sorry again, my children. Where was I? I think that the infrastructure will pass. I feel pretty confident about that. I don't know about Build Back Better, in what form it will come out of there, if it will be enough to be as meaningful as it could be. But I don't, and I thought a lot about this because everybody's asking this. I don't think that there is a lot we can do right now. There are a lot of people putting pressure on the people that pressure needs to be put on. We have the right numbers. We worked really hard to get those right numbers, and I think it just needs to play out at this point. I mean, it never hurts to call people, but Kirsten Sinema's not taking anyone's phone calls as far as I can tell. She's certainly not going to take a Californian's. So, yeah. I wish I had like a set action plan for what we could do here, but I don't think there is very much.
But I think that's your point, right? Like, that's why elections are so critical, getting the right people in these offices, because these are those moments that you have to trust that part of the process.
And I don't want to make it sound like I have like a huge amount of faith that they're going to do like an awesome job here. I'm really, really deeply frustrated that it's taken this long to get to where we are, which is not really much of anywhere. But I will think that our work was done a year ago when everybody cast their ballots, or I guess January when Georgia voted. That was our, we did what we needed to do. We got 50 seats. We counted that high, and we got the House majority. We held on to that House majority. We helped Biden win. That was our work. And if there were more Democratic holdouts, or the personalities and governing styles of the people that are holding out were fundamentally different, I would say, yeah, get on the phone. These organizations are lobbying. But there's only a certain number of things that Joe Manchin is going to move on. We knew that. He is the same senator he has always been. And in some ways, I'm fine with that, because when he retires, we will never have that seat again. He's in a Trump plus 30 state, and so be it, right? Aggravating, but that's how we get to 50, is with Joe Manchin. I'm really frustrated with Kirsten Sinema because there are a lot better Democrats in Arizona, and we could have put someone else in that seat potentially. And I also don't think that Joe Manchin's just a moderate. He's just more conservative than everybody else. I don't think Kirsten is more conservative than everybody else. I think she's just a narcissist. So she's not going to respond to pressure, certainly not from us. So.
All right. Well, let's.
But that's why we need to just focus on 22. All right. That's why it's not too early, is because we have to get the numbers higher if possible. We certainly can't lose. We don't have any margin for error. The only way it gets done is by keeping these numbers. So.
Well, the good thing is, I wanted to just ask on a high note, in terms of the map looks a lot better than it did when we were coming into 2020, because we did so good and we did well in 2020. And while yes, the landscape, there's a lot more protection and even opportunities to pick up seats, right, Gretchen? So tell just share at the end, kind of one or two positive things that you're excited about, that you're going to keep an eye on.
Yeah, I mean, I think our Senate map looks good. Our Senate map is easier this time. We're playing very little defense. We should be fine. We've got an incumbency in Arizona and Georgia now. That's huge. So I think that we have a decent chance of keeping the Senate based on the map, based on the current state of the races. A lot can change in a year, but I'm feeling good about that. I'm just there's not a huge amount that I feel excited about right now. I am excited about Build Back Better. I think it's a great bill. I think it's a revolutionary bill. I think that there is a lot for Democrats to be excited about in that bill. We just need to pass it. And then I'll feel really excited because I think that that will just do a lot of very tangible good for our country. So I guess that's the answer. I'm really excited about this bill. I'm really frustrated that it's not passed yet, but I am excited about the content of it because I think it will do good. And I think it will be good for the country. And it will also be good for our electoral prospects because it will be good for the country. It'll be a popular policy if we can do it and tell people what's in it nonstop for the next year.
I was just going to say that. So I think like that's the biggest thing. Like if we can give the American people some deliverables, and that will be a big thing to talk about next year for everyone. So I would say like right now we're in the also building back, right? Like kind of laying these foundations, planting these seeds, and hopefully they can deliver on that. So by next year, a lot can change on this. Hopefully the map shake out to be positive as well. So you know, maybe sometimes no good news is at least better than bad news.
Yeah.
So
I think the maps will be okay. I think we're going to get fair maps out of most states. I don't think they'll make our job a lot harder, but yeah.
All right. Anyone else have any questions? And I know we're supposed to take a selfie before we wrap things up, but you guys have Gretchen's info, and we're bummed to miss Al, but I know we'll hopefully have her back too, and give us a more detailed vision with you and Gretchen, you and Al to come back in the spring to give us more insight as things progress.
Yeah, great. And I mean this very sincerely. Please do feel free to reach out or, you know, message me on Substack or whatever. I love talking about this stuff. It's so exciting for me. So please do.
And she's not kidding. She's been such an inspiration and motivating for me to stay connected and come back. And it's always a pleasure to work with you, Gretchen. Thank you.
Thanks, Tito.
Okay. Do you guys want to do the selfie? Let's get on camera. Up here, are you going to take this?
Sure, I can take it.
I'm not good at this stuff. I
feel
just
like the sun set like during the talk, so I was like in this bright sunny room, and now I'm like huddled in here by the light of my computer. I apologize.
Okay, I got a few.
Okay.
Let me get one. Jill, your camera's on now. Okay, thank you. And Gretchen, I personally will definitely be taking you up on your offer to help. I am very excited and feeling energized and a little scared, which I think was the goal.
That is the goal. I mean, that's sort of the perpetual state in politics, right? Optimistic and slightly terrified, I think, is the goal. So,
well, check.
Right. Thank you all. Thanks very much.
Thank you guys. Thanks everyone. Thank you so much.
Take care all.
Thank you.